You're listening to Keith Engle, the host of TGI Sports Talk on the national streaming sports Roku channel.
Football season is here, and SeatGeek is my go-to for buying tickets. Now, with SeatGeek, every single ticket is backed with their buyer guarantee. We've all had plans change, and when you can't make it to the big game, SeatGeek has you covered. They're the only ticketer that allows you to return your tickets ahead of the event for credit with SeatGeek swaps. So when things come up, I know that my tickets won't go to waste. So what are you waiting for? Download the SeatGeek app to maximize your possibilities and shop live events with confidence.
Good morning, everybody. Keith Engle here for TGI Sports Talks with our one-on-one with Keith Engle series. Welcome, everybody, on this Friday before some great college football conference finals. We'll cover all that when we talk on the Sunday Stream of Consciousness, as we know we do every Sunday morning. I got a little background issue today. I apologize. I'm not sure why, but we'll let that be for now. Want to welcome everybody watching on Facebook, YouTube, the Roku channel, the National Streaming Sports Roku channel. Shout out to the groups that allow me to share this and allow us to get the thousands of views that we get for all of these shows. Listen, it's not Joe Rogan, but man, I'm happy with the viewership that we get, and you guys have really helped drive that. So I appreciate it so much. The groups, John Gonzalez at the Sports Authorities, Flo and the gang at the Bottom Line Sports. Flo's got a great podcast of his own. He does a couple days a week, and Let's Talk Sports, where Flo does his broadcasting, if you will. Greg Rawlings at America's Pastime, excuse me. The Love for Baseball. Greg does a great job there. Billy might be Billy Sample, our guest today, might be a member of that group. I'm not sure. He's got like 500 or plus former Major League Baseball players there, so, and umpires and coaches and whatnot. So Greg does a great job. And also Ken Krause at Golf Buds, Sports of All Sorts. DDH, thumbs up. Know you're looking over us. And a quick shout out to Ralph Williams at RW Media, specifically the Sports Corner that Ralph does every Tuesday from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern with Smokin' Jim Frazier. I've been a guest there and always have a good time. We're going to get into it real quickly here in a minute. I'm going to bring in my guest, Billy Sample. Billy had a I think 9+ year career with the Rangers, most of it with the Rangers. But he played a year here in New York with the Yankees. He spent some time with the Braves, went on to a prolific, if you will. He broadcast in quite a few spots, a broadcasting career, doing games and other stuff. He's a writer. He's got a possible movie in production. We have so much to talk about. So let's get our guest in without further ado, Billy Sample. Good morning, Billy.
Morning, Keith, and thank you for the intro. If I could do what you do as well as opening a show, I'd still be in the business, but I could never open a show as fluently, as smoothly as that. So
there's days it doesn't go that smoothly.
Hearing professionals do that. And when you come to my career, if you want to say mediocre, it's okay.
Oh, no, I was not going to say mediocre.
Especially the broadcast part. The playing part, I'll say solid. The broadcasting part, although I hung around long enough, I worked for enough people. I couldn't keep a job, but I enjoyed the broadcasting part of it, and I enjoyed, at least in my mind, thinking that I helped people's appreciation of the game. So.
Well, that's good, and you did that, because I used to watch Braves games a lot because we had the Superstation up here and whatnot. So I saw a bit of you in your broadcasting career, and I thought better. You're certainly better than me. If you don't sell yourself short. And thank you for the kind words, because my open doesn't always go that smoothly. It's just some days it's like, what the hell just happened? But I do appreciate you popping in today. And where are you now, by the way? I know you grew up in Roanoke and you've been around the country, obviously, with your playing and broadcasting career. But where are you now?
Yeah, I was born in Roanoke, Virginia, and then grew up for the most part, in the adjacent town of Salem, or a city now. And outside of 2 years in Brooklyn as a 4 and 5 year old, I lived in Salem. Let's say I went to James Madison in Harrisonburg, Virginia, and then once pro ball got going, I was moving around. And then when I was called up to the Rangers, I lived there for 6 years, and then was traded to the Yankees and moved to New Jersey, as most Yankees players live.
Yeah.
And I was there for 36 years and loved it. And right now I'm south of Daytona Beach in Florida. I have a view of the Halifax River leading into the bay, which leads into the Atlantic Ocean. So I guess if somebody's got to do it at my age,
I would
cool.
like to join you, but we had plans to do that, but a granddaughter came along and my wife suddenly changed all our plans. We were staying here in the Northeast, so we're dealing with snow the last few days and cold, and I guess this is where I'm going to die, so that's okay.
Yeah, unless the granddaughter moves south, you can't move south. Right?
I said, no, we just moved and bought a new townhouse and sold the house my wife had for 30 years. And I'm like, I'm moving once twice. The next time will not be on this earth. So I'm not moving again. So they better not move. That's all I can say about that. Yeah. Billy, you talked about growing up in Roanoke, and I know in high school you're three sports star, and I got to talk about one part of this at some point. But baseball always your main sport, or was football? Was there? I know you went to James Madison to play baseball and help put that program a little bit on the map. But was there thought about playing other sports past high school?
Well, Keith, I was about 15 when I thought that if I was going to play professional in anything, it was going to be baseball. I was a second team All-State wide receiver after my senior year in high school. And junior year, we went to the state finals in football. And I should say I had an all-state quarterback, so it made it a lot easier. He had some great teammates. Had a running back named G. Sprinkle that was jump cutting before the term was introduced. And in the movie, Remember the Titans,
I wanted to get to
we
that.
actually played them in the state finals, but in the movie, they depicted them playing their district rival, George Marshall, because that's the only close game they played that year. Of the 13 games they played, they shut out 8 opponents, including us. We had
so the Liberties
fall back and mounted.
So the Liberties, sorry about that. The Liberties that I read about them taking with the movies included not even playing the team that they actually played. My questions was going to be, if I did watch the movie, which person was Billy Sample on the other team, but none of them, because it wasn't your school.
He was the one that had 2 drops. Yeah, I don't think that made the movie. But I think there are people in Salem, Virginia, that are still upset that they didn't depict us, but you really can't Hollywood up a 27-0 score. I don't care how close the game might have been. If you had been, if they went, you just can't do that. So,
as far as that movie goes in real life, staying with that topic a little bit, how at the time when you're playing that game, did it have significance the way we felt it in the movie and they built up that drama? Did you feel that kind of significance at the time?
No, I think the only thing that I was conscious of is that they had combined 3 schools. And I think for the most part, that's what our teammates would have, because you're going from finishing your regular season, first round of the playoffs, second round of the playoffs, they were a week apart. So you didn't have time to think about anything other than you get your scouting report and you see how the height and weight of the people that are going to cover you and that sort of thing. And you watch a little film, but for the most part, we just got our scouting report. We went over plays that seemed to be pertinent. I remember my head coach, who was Eddie Joyce Sr., who wrote most of the rules for football in Southwest Virginia, it seemed. He told me before the week that I had been running the split end part for the most part, and Jesse Lawson was running the flanker, and he told us that he wanted us to switch, and I didn't know why. I enjoyed the split end because I wasn't as fast as Jesse, so I needed that extra step, and then I kind of understood as the game went on, because I think there was something in the dialogue in the movie where Denzel Washington's character says they switched or something like that, because I think they were trying to get me away from Earl Cook, who was their best defensive back. But he just came on and followed me and shut me out. And then the game was played in Roanoke, Virginia, so that was true to the script. But it's nice. It seemed like everybody loved that movie.
Yeah, it's a great
I wonder
movie.
sometimes if they hadn't made the movie, would I have dreams of I should have done this or I should have done that? Because in the semifinal game, I caught 7 passes for 117 yards and a touchdown in a 26-20 victory. Not that I remember things from 53 years ago, but in the final, it was not a good day.
Well,
oh well,
it got better from there. I mean, so baseball was going to be your path out.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Basketball, I was just the point guard, just dishing the ball to Charlie Morgan, who averaged 24 points a game. So
well, somebody's got to do that. I mean, that's a lot of assists, obviously.
Yeah, if I drove the lane and you fouled me, you only helped improve my shot.
Oh gosh. Anyway, as you're moving through your high school career, you did get drafted in '73 before you went to James Madison. I believe before you went to James Madison, late. But was there any thought of not going to college and going pro at that point?
No, the late great Joe Branzell was the scout that drafted me, and he called me. Some of the players, we went to Myrtle Beach. That was our senior graduation trip, and all of us were athletes. And so I'm waiting around because I'm sure I'm getting drafted. The scouts have told me I'm going somewhere in the teens. So Joe finally tracks me down. Bill, it's Joe Branzell of the Texas Rangers. We drafted you in the 28th round. And you could hear the silence on the phone because I was thinking I was going a lot earlier than that. He says, "Well, Bill," at the time there were 24 teams. "Well, Bill, 23 other teams passed over you 27 times." As if to say, don't blame us for drafting you. I thought, oh, that's pretty good. What a good line. I'm sure he's used that one before.
Yeah, he probably used it that same day a few times, I'm guessing.
Oh, jeez. So, and I don't think he wanted me to sign anyway. And so I was the only offer I had was at James Madison. It was just starting their program. I think the program was in its fourth year, maybe.
Yeah.
Brad Babcock, the head coach, my goodness, what a great recruiter. And I miss him, and I'm sure a lot of my teammates miss him. But we had, from what would have been my sophomore year, I had 6 teammates sign pro contracts from what used to be an all-female institution up until the late 1960s.
I didn't even know that was an all-female school at one point. I didn't know that.
Yeah. It was 3-1 by the time I was there. I couldn't lie a date, but it was okay.
Would we know some of those? Would we know some of those guys who signed contracts while you were there?
Our center fielder, 5-tool center fielder, Todd Winterfeld, out of Seaford, New York. He made it up to. He played AAA ball in the Mets organization. I think he was drafted by the Cubs, but he went to the Mets. J.W. Mitchell, our shortstop, clutch hitting shortstop, and Jim Barb, our first baseman, good power to right center field. They made it to Double-A. JW with the Cubs and Jim with the Rangers. Mike Lacasse, our third baseman, was a minor league teammate of Cal Ripken Jr. And Tim Simones and Roger Lee played independent ball. So there, 6 guys on the program. And also Babcock took the first team from Virginia to the College World Series in 1983. Nowadays, the UVA's got a tremendous program. And a lot of teams have tremendous programs in Virginia. But so I was championing Babcock to get into the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame, but it never happened. And Brad passed away a couple of years ago. But he was a tremendous recruiter. I mean, he was a good-looking guy, well built. I mean, he would be in there bench pressing 300 pounds. And I told somebody he better be strong because he got half the players wanting to jump him. So he had to make sure he was strong.
He sounds like he was a big influence on you.
My goodness. We talk about Brad like the Yankees would talk about Steinbrenner. He was quite a character.
James Madison itself, I mean, from where you were, and again, I'm not really sure, quite frankly, where they are on the baseball spectrum these days, but basketball, football, they become certainly not a powerhouse, but certainly a good Division I programs in basketball and football. I don't. How's the baseball team doing? And did you see that coming with this university?
Yeah, I think I did, Keith, because the president, Ron Kerry, in my day, my goodness, what a to make the transition from where it was to what it is now, you needed some great leadership, and Uncle Ron, as everybody called him, I guess. He was just tremendous. He probably lied to the Virginia legislature to get better fields and more money, and but he was smooth. The last time I saw him, it was in fact, it was at Todd Winterfeld's Hall of Fame induction at JMU, and he fist bumped me, and I said, "Man, that's cool when you get a president of the university comes to you and gives you a fist bump." And just, but he was cool like that, and he'd come out and very supportive. He'd come out to the games and really saw the progression of the male program there at JMU, and I guess he figured that was going to be a way to put yourself on the map, and evidently it did. And even going from the Division II to the Sun Belt Conference, as they did a couple of years ago. Well, last year they were they were undefeated until the end, and now we call the Indiana football program JMU West, because they took not only the coach, they took about 13 players and 8 starters. So
well, they still had a decent year this year. I mean, one that stands out is they waxed North Carolina, 70-50. So they didn't have a bad year this year.
No, I think they're 8-4. They lost to Marshall. Was it in overtime? I saw the game. I was watching the game. It was close, and they'll probably get a bowl game somewhere. So that's, I think from where they've come, that's pretty good.
I got to tell you,
and they have Hall of Famers like Charles Haley that came through. When I was there, they were just building the football program. They were still playing a JV schedule on the high school field. So that's how quickly Gary Clark and Scott Norwood and as I said, Hall of Famer Charles Haley go through there, and quite a number of people since then. But they've put some people on the map.
And I know you haven't mentioned it yourself, and I would think you probably won't, but you are a Hall of Famer at the JMU as well, as far as I know.
I was in the inaugural class. Yeah. They had to put somebody in, so I guess
somebody's got to start it. So
somebody got to start it. Yeah, that's right.
Sure. You're good. Yeah. Listen, before I go on real quick, couple good mornings. Dave Guyette up in Amsterdam. Good to see you. Matt Henry, don't know you from my show. Maybe it's somebody coming from Billy's world, but wherever you're coming from, Matt, we appreciate you joined us. And just to show you the reach this show has, Billy, Michael Gott joins us from across the pond. He's a constant follower of the show and all of my shows, and so you're live in the UK right now as well.
I once did for the BBC. I was a presenter for the 2003 World Series. Was that the Marlins?
Marlins Yankees. I remember that.
It was for that. And I thought, my goodness, I'm explaining to an audience that's not all that familiar with baseball. I'm trying to explain the force play. I said, I can't explain the force play to an English audience, American English audience.
That's pretty cool.
It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it, and I've only been across the pond once. Well, across the pond to England once, but I really enjoyed it. The architecture is just, I think all through Europe, I was like, wow, these people did this in the 1400s.
We have to get there. My wife, again, has a whole list for me because when we travel now, I'm still working. She's retired. I got maybe a year to go. I don't know. Hopefully nobody from work is watching today. But we'll do some of that traveling. I've been to Ireland. When I was in the beer business years ago, we would win all kinds of trips, and we went to Ireland to play golf, which was awesome. So I certainly want to get back. The weather wasn't great, but it was fun to do it. Have you done that? Are you a golfer?
No, I've had a good run of getting out of golfing when they need quasi celebrities. I'll show up for the dinners. In fact, they'll try to embarrass me because I won't play. And here, just for their dinner, is Billy Sample. I get up and wave like, yeah, I figured this out. You don't want to see my golf game. Yeah.
It seems like all
I'm a pretty good putter though, because when you're trying to salvage that quadruple bogey, there's a lot of pressure on the putt.
It seems like all the guys. And good morning, Rick Sherlock. Good to have you with us. Another one of our loyal followers. It seems like all the ex-players I talk to are, that they play golf like all the time, and I'm so jealous.
Yeah, especially the hockey players. Well, it's the same swing.
Oh yeah.
Tremendous. Oh my goodness, I don't want to embarrass myself anymore. So I figure I've gone this long. I'll show up. I'll drive the beer wagon or the refreshment wagon. I'll do good. All the other things that are involved to help the charity. But,
You're contributing. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, after you leave JMU, you do get drafted higher. You're 10th now by the Rangers, and you're actually
same Joe Branzel, same scout. Yeah.
Same scout, and he was a little nicer this time, or was it still 19?
Excuse me. It wasn't that he wasn't nice. He was just kind of matter of fact.
He didn't say 20. He didn't say 20 teams passed you over 9 times, or.
Oh dear. Well, I played in the Shenandoah Valley League, and I think that really helped. Collegiate Summer League. Some of the better players along the Eastern Seaboard. Got to play against Tom Brookins, who was the Tigers in '84.
Yeah, good player.
I was teammates the first year with Gene Richards, and he was a center fielder. He came up with the Padres. He had the National League stolen base record by a rookie until Tim Raines broke it a couple of years later. And he could low fly. I mean, my goodness. Remember, there was one day I'm in left, he's in center. Somebody hits the ball in left center line drive, and I'm getting on my move, and I'm about ready to dive, and I see out of the corner of my eye. So I stopped my dive and just sort of pulled up, and I rammed into his thigh, and he kind of looks at me like, "What are you doing?" He covered so much ground that I had no idea he was there, and that's how it was just fun to watch, to be in the same outfield. And I had great center fielders. I had Todd Winterfeld, who I'd mentioned before, and Gene. My goodness, they could run even in the big leagues. And we got up, and there was Mickey Rivers and George Wright, and they could all cover some ground. So, but yeah, it was 10th round this time. They sent me to Sarasota. I ended up leading the league in hitting, but I'm 21, so I can't have too many open fours at 21. Maybe at 18, 19, maybe. But so I led the league in hitting. I played outfield, left field in college, but they moved me to second base for a few games because they said that the scouts wanted to see me there and thought it might help my draft status to be a infielder. Didn't make our incumbent second baseman Vic Giacchino happy, but I think he understood. So I was an infielder until midway during my AA season. I went from rookie ball to AA, and I think I still have the Texas League record for most errors by a second baseman. I wish somebody would come along and break that. It'd be nice. And then they figured my bat was going to precede my glove to the big league, so they moved me back to the outfield. But the AA was fun. Roy Clark was one of our owners. Roy Clark, country music.
Yeah, Roy Clark. Love Roy Clark.
He'd come out and take some ground balls too. He was cool. Yeah. One day, towards the end of the year, he'd come out when his schedule would work out, and he was going to bat in a game. But the last game of the year, he was going to bat in a game. And somehow he misheard it. And he came out the day before. And the day before, and he's got a bat in his hand. He's ready to go. They're throwing Juan Berenguer. I don't know if anybody saw Juan Berenguer in the minors. He was throwing 98 without an idea.
Yeah.
That was on the slow gun. Excuse me. And so so I think we all just collectively grabbed Roy by the collar. No, you're going to sit right here on the bench. Don't move. Because picking and grinning needs to go together. It may not go together. You got up to the plate. Oh, dear.
So it's funny you mentioned Roy Clark because when I think of the Rangers, I think, and I don't know if it was, I think it would have been during your time there in spring training. Charlie Pride would also.
Sure, yeah. Well, Charlie played in Negro leagues in the late 1940s, 1950s, and Charlie did it. He still had nice line drive stroke from the left side. Yeah, he was. Yeah, he'd jump in the cage just like the rest of us jumping in the cage.
Wouldn't he play in a game or two or in the exhibition season or no?
Did he?
I feel like he did. Like maybe one year he
did, but I just don't remember. It seemed like I would have remembered that. But yeah.
Yeah, you probably would have. But maybe I'm misremembering it because I do that.
Well, I love seeing celebrities. I don't know how you feel about it, but I love seeing celebrities getting into the game, like Billy Crystal.
Yeah.
And who the Pirates left-hander that struck him out threw him some nasty stuff. I'm going, oh my goodness, nobody's going to hit that, much less the guy that just went down to the cage and had some swings. Or Tom Selleck. Tom Selleck was in a game. I remember seeing him. Yeah,
Tom Selleck. I don't know if I would call it a good swing in Mr. Baseball. Was it Mr. Baseball?
I think the movie when he was in Japan. Yeah.
I've seen some guys swing.
He's a big guy. Yeah. And he would play the Tigers. He'd be in the cage from time to time.
Yeah, that's cool. I do appreciate seeing that stuff too. So you get through the minors. Did you have some influences in the minors that kind of helped mold your game? And you got through the minor leagues fairly quickly to the Rangers. Was there somebody that really stands out as helping you, or was it just Billy Sample?
Well, I probably should have gotten there earlier than I did, but I was doing well in Double-A ball, and hitting well, but I took an 0 for 37, which is hard to believe that you can be hitting so well and all of a sudden just go 11 consecutive games without a hit.
Well, that's baseball.
That happened, and it cost me a chance of going up that year. I didn't realize it at the time, and I got a little advice every once in a while. I remember talking about that same Baron Gear, and he was knocking me down with that high. I realized they were trying to pitch me inside. Okay, fine. Okay, you're established inside, and I throw the stuff over across the plate so I can hit it. But I was a little alarmed by it, and I talked to some of my teammates. I can remember asking Brian Nakamoto, who played every position in Double-A, what should I do? And Brian said, go after him. And I thought, well, best case scenario, I go out there, I land a couple of punches. I still got to face him at some point. And this time, he's really going to hit me. That's the best case scenario. The most likely scenario is I go out there and get smacked and then have to face him again. So either one didn't sound particularly good to me. But Brian was good. Some of the guys who had played pro ball more than I had were great resources. I remember Don Thomas and Jerry Reedy and Mark Miller and Mel Barrow and some of the veteran players, because I hadn't been in pro ball that long, and they sort of showed me the way.
Who were the teammates in the minors that kind of followed you to the Rangers that you played with before the big leagues?
Well, I was teammates with Danny Darwin. So we came up about the same time.
Sure. Yeah.
Danny, same way, kind of wild looking Texan with hair going everywhere, throwing 3/4 and having, you could see some of the right-handed hitters bailing out. And let's see, who was that? Danny. Danny, Pat Putnam, and I are on the same prospects card. And in fact, I still get about 75 card requests, envelopes a month.
Really?
Yeah. I just
people don't forget.
I try to get them back to everybody. I'm not particularly prompt, but I try to get everybody's cards back. Even the guy that sends 250 cards at a time, like I say, look.
Well, he's not just looking for an autograph, right?
Yeah. I'm not continuing to do this. Let's see who else came up. I remember this was kind of telling. Joe Klein, great baseball man. He was the assistant farm director when I came up. Now I guess they're player personnel directors. And he also wanted to manage the team that he had just drafted. So he managed the rookie ball team.
Right.
And before the first game, he called us all in. There were about 27 of us. There's some new guys, some guys that were repeating rookie ball. And he said, take a look to your left, take a look to your right, and pick out another person, because that's all that's going to make it to the majors. And he wasn't saying it to scare us. He was just saying those are the odds.
Yeah.
Steve Comer preceded me, change-up throwing right-hander, also pitched with Cleveland. And Brian Allard, is kind of a stylish right-hander that pitched with Texas, and Seattle came after me. That was it.
That's it. That's interesting.
That's it. Yeah, that was all that made it to the majors, those three out of that group.
What was it like as you got called up, the feelings, nervousness, excitement, maybe all of the above? And
no, Rich Donnelly called our last trip in AAA. Rich Donnelly, our manager, told me that I was going up, and I said thank you. I figured that I did whatever I needed to do to get to the majors, and so my job then was not to get hurt in the next few games. Excuse me, before going up. And so the season ends, and we're meeting the team in Milwaukee. So we're in Tucson to Phoenix, Phoenix to Chicago, Chicago to Milwaukee. And pardon me, too.
that's okay.
I'm battling a little bit of something. And so I walk into the clubhouse, and they have the lineup up, and it says sample 4 leading off in the first position. And I thought for a second, maybe, okay, this is a fake lineup. Isn't that really? I didn't think I was going to play the first day, but that's fine. But what alarmed me was the 4 part. It had me at second base. Do they know I burned my second glove, my infielder's glove? I never thought I'd revisit that place again. I actually had. It wasn't so my hands were hard, but what really had gotten to me was I threw one away like Steve Sachs and Chuck Knobloch had, and then I couldn't throw it to first base. I was a psychology major in college too. Not a very good one. And
well, they don't normally help themselves, so right? Psychology, right? Even they have psychology.
That's right. And I didn't help anybody. And so I remember Doc Ellis telling me, "Well, good luck, young man." And I thought, "Oh, this is real now." Oh, okay, all right. The part about playing immediately didn't bother me, and I wasn't particularly nervous. I remember when I was running the lines, getting loose, Richie Ziss, in his avuncular way, said it was just like AAA. He was trying to calm me down, and I got it. Oh, thank you. And but still, I was a little alarmed about the 4 part, playing the second base.
Yeah.
Billy Hunter was our manager, and maybe 7 minutes before the game, he calls me over and tells me what's going on. And they felt that Bump Wills, the switch hitting second baseman, was scuffling a little bit from his right side. So they wanted to give him one less at bat from the right side. So, okay. So it didn't matter what I did. Bump was going to play second base.
I see.
So I lead off the game. Jerry Augustine's first pitch, sinking fastball. And I drove it in the right center. And somehow Sixto Lescano got a glove on it. What? And, so anyway, I'm on first base with the grin and like that. And here comes Bump, the pinch run for me. Day's over. I have no idea what Bob Uecker thought was going on. the Brewers broadcaster. Hey, must have pulled a muscle running from home to first. And that was my indoctrination right there. It was fun. Unfortunately, we didn't win the game, but it was. I'm glad I got that hit out of the way.
Yeah, I'm sure. That's got to be a relief to get up there and get that first hit. And guys, continue with your comments because they're all over the place a little bit. When we get done, we'll go back to your comments, I promise you, and I'll get Billy to address all of them. So we just don't break up this wonderful momentum we have here. Getting to the Rangers. Now, unfortunately, you play your first, I don't know, was it 6 years, I guess, ish, with the Rangers, and don't make the playoffs. There's some good players there. You get up, especially the team that you came up to, I thought had some really good players. Jim Sundberg was a great defensive catcher. I had Jim in for an interview. He's a great guy.
Yeah. I don't know how he caught all those games.
Yeah.
And he was like 130
game
a year catcher in that heat. and I after the careers were over, I think I apologized to Jim that I was too busy worrying about myself, gasping for breath. I didn't think about him behind the plate. All those games, my goodness, But then Pudge Rodriguez came right behind him.
Yeah. They had a good string of
every
catchers.
day. They just catch every day. One year, I think in 1980, we had 43 consecutive days of over 100. I'm going, whew. Yeah, people were dying in the stadium.
Yeah, so that was a pretty good team. And what was lacking, do you think, in the Rangers at the time you were there that just didn't allow them to get over the top? And there were some bad years in there, obviously, too. But this team you came up to, there was some talent there. The pitching staff had Fergie Jenkins still, who was maybe, wasn't what he was a few years before that, but still a good pitcher. Doc Ellis, you mentioned, and Doc Medich, I remember, was on that staff.
Yeah. They had a way with the Rangers of making some moves that I kind of had your head shaking a little bit. In 1982, they traded. In fact, I remember I was at home in spring training.
Yeah.
And the last thing on the news was the Rangers trade 2 minor leaguers for Lee Mazzilli. And I thought, well, I wonder where Lee's going to play. Yeah, guess where? And but then they traded Ron Darling, who was their first pick the previous year, and Walt Terrell, who had a long career. And then Mazzilli doesn't stay. Lee doesn't stay until August, and you've just given away two. Who gives away their first pick, and that person's a pitcher? I was just like, what are they doing? They had some other questionable moves. One time they were going to ban people from bringing food into the stadium. Okay, that's your prerogative. That's fine.
Right.
People are used to, because it's such a regional team, people would come, bring their families and kids. It might be from Odessa somewhere driving in, and so they bring in their food and cut down costs and things like that. Well, they decided that they weren't going to allow that anymore. So one lady, after she had her food confiscated, went to her seat and then thought more of it, and she was going to complain to customer service. And as she walked by the gate where she had come in, she saw the gatekeepers eating her chicken. As she walked back to complain. That just kills you PR wise. It's like, oh, geez, are these people serious? Or they just do some other things? Or stuff like throwing Dave Righetti in as just a throw in. They threw in Dave Righetti in a 10-player trade.
Is that the trade that brought Rivers or no?
No, that's another one. So, thank you. I need more psychiatrist hours after this conversation. So they traded. Okay, they traded for Oscar. No, they traded for Mickey, middle of the year, to give some depth in the outfield. And my goodness, the outfield would have been just sick good. Mickey, Oscar Gamble, I think Zisk was still there, Al Oliver, Johnny Grubb, me.
Billy Sample.
I probably would have done a lot of pinch running, but but it was but they traded players who hadn't cleared waivers, a procedural thing. I don't know how you have to wait to do it, but they messed up somehow.
Yeah.
So they ended up having to give up a player that might have been in the group to be named later at this point now at the trade because they messed it up. And it turned out to be Oscar Gamble, who was our leading hitter and just a great presence everywhere. In fact, Mickey didn't show up for all the team pictures anyway, but we actually had a team picture with both Oscar and Mickey in it. It just happened to be that day that we were taking a team picture. And they would do stuff like that. Just, it's hard enough sometimes, but if you're, oh well, I'll get over it. Down, Billy. I'll get over it.
To your own production. I mean, you were part of the all rookie team. I mean, did you think, my career? What did you think your career was going to be? I mean, at the end of the day, are we happy, or you felt that maybe you would have gotten a better chance after that? I know you had some.
Trying to orchestrate my trade to Milwaukee, but nobody would listen.
Is that true for real?
Yeah, I did. I went up to one reporter one time during the trading deadline and said, "Hey, did you hear I'm going to Milwaukee? Tell me more." I was just trying to start some stuff.
Why Milwaukee?
Oh, because they were wearing us out.
Oh, okay. All right. Hey.
I had a trade for Mark Bruhart. I said, "Come on. You can trade me for Bruhart. Come on. They're not going to miss me here." I don't know. When I came up at the end of 78 and talking about getting the first hit and the first pitch, and I had some good at bats, and Billy Hunter, we were in Seattle, and I'm getting on the bus, and I'd had maybe a couple hits that night, and he pats the seat beside him for me to sit down beside him, and he started going over how he envisioned next year's team. And then Sundberg obviously is going to be the catcher, and I think Pat Putnam ended up at first base, and Bump Wills at second base, and so forth and so on. And he said that Johnny Grubb and I would platoon in left field. Well, I feel pretty good. I don't want to go back to AAA. There's nothing there for me. And to have the manager to impressed him so much that he's already penciling you in for next year sounded pretty good to me. They fired Billy the next day.
Yeah.
And there you have it. There's my luck right there. There you go. They fired him the next day. So anyway, I did. You're right. I thank you. I made the all rookie team, but I started out in 1980, and this was my fault. I started out slow, and you really couldn't. I had to start out fast to keep the job, and I didn't start out fast.
Yeah.
So from then on, I was always a battle getting in playing time. 80, I was hardly playing. 81, I was leading the league in doubles. The light stanchion at Arlington, they were so low that every line drive went into the lights, and so most of the time it comes out, but every once in a while it's standing like this. And I saw one UL Washington hit a line drive, and I knew about where it was, but by the time it came out of the lights, it was so low to the ground that I couldn't catch it and lift my hand. I caught it and rolled on my hand and broke my wrist. And I was having a good start to the season. So I just ran into some killer luck every once in a while. But by the time I got to 1984, and it was a long year, and it was traded to the Yankees, I knew then that I was going to play as best I can, as well as I can. But it was going to be coming off the bench, because when I went to the Yankees, they had just acquired Ricky Henderson. It was Ricky. They had Ken Griffey Sr. and Dave Winfield, and they play every day. So what crumbs of playing time I got, I tried to utilize it. And Don Baylor was the DH, and even when I was in the lineup, I was often batting behind Don, and I felt bad for him, because I could see a pitcher look at him one time and then looked at me on the on-deck circle and looked back, and I thought, oh my goodness, he's getting nothing to hit, because he didn't have enough protection.
Yeah.
And I said that to Don. I apologized to him and said, Groove, I'm sorry, man. And being a great teammate, he said, well, the only walking I'm doing is to the dish anyway. So that was really nice of him to say that.
What was it like, Billy, going from Texas, which again, Arlington, Dallas area, not a small metropolitan area, but going to New York is a totally different experience for many guys. What was it like for you? Was it a big change going from the Rangers to the Yankees, organization wise, city wise?
No,
Right.
I thought that as far as the media, it was as negative in Arlington as it could be
Yeah.
in New
Yeah.
York. I think the only difference is that you have many more types of media, and the numbers are greater. So what you might think is a throwaway line in a report, somebody might highlight that because they need something different than what the other media person is getting. So I didn't think it was that different. Just more media.
Well, you played in a very interesting season in Yankee lore because before the season, George had promised Yogi he was going to get the whole season no matter what. And
16 games later.
16 games and didn't go back to Yankee Stadium for about 2 decades, which was really sad for us Yankee fans, by the way. And
I think Susan Wallman brokered that deal to get them together again. I think.
Yeah, I believe you're right. At his Yogi's Museum, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
That was tough because Yogi's just so well respected. He was just oh my goodness, Yogi and Carmen, and they're just salt of the earth people, and it hurt I think it hurt the players to see how Yogi was dragged through the mud, I guess.
Yeah.
And you could feel it. You knew it's like you could cut the tension with a knife. You could feel that there was something going on. And by the time it got to Chicago, I guess it was just a matter of seconds before it happened. And when it was heard, somehow a trash can went flying across the room. I can't tell you who threw it, but they were really upset. And Willie Horton, another great guy, but Billy Martin brought Willie Horton on the staff. We thought, I think he called him the tranquility coach because he had to make sure nobody jumped Billy. And Willie's not tall, but I mean, Willie's just, I think
big man.
Willie was growing up in Detroit, he was disqualified from a boxing tournament that he had won because he was too young. That's how strong.
Really?
Willie.
Interesting. Yeah. What were the play? I mean, obviously upset Yogi's gone. I mean, what were the thoughts with Billy? I believe that was Billy's third time around, if I'm not mistaken. Could be his. No, I think it was his third time. And some of those players had been through it before. Some guys like you hadn't. What were their thoughts with Billy coming back yet again? And what was it like playing for Billy Martin?
Good. Billy is a great tacticianer. He was a great. Yeah. He knew the game. He knew people. He knew umpires. And he plays every game like it's the 7th game of the World Series, which works initially, I think, very well, as it did. We were never in first place, but we managed to be close enough to the Blue Jays that year to make a real run at it until the last series actually was in Toronto. We needed to sweep the series and sweep a playoff game. It was going to be tough to do. But he's a great tactician. I can see where some of his influence wanes after a while because he does play everything. If you're not going to pitch your third guy in the bullpen, at some point you're probably going to need him in a long season, and he's not going to be very effective because he hadn't pitched in a while. So it's kind of a catch-22 in that sense for the reliever. But there was something always going on. The matrix from George to Billy to the team to the press and back up was. I told one of the reporters, "You don't have to worry about a story. A story just evolves in front of you." And that's pretty much there was something going on every day.
Did it affect the team? I mean, you guys did come back, as you said, and at least contend. I mean, does that type of dynamic, does it affect the team the way we might see it when we're reading it in the press? The constant tension between Billy and George, or Billy and whomever.
I think it probably worked in the 70s a little better than it did in the mid 80s because if it keeps happening, then it's probably not going to be as effective as it was 6, 7, 8 years earlier. That was the year in 1985 that George called Winfield Mr. May.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and maybe in the 70s, the players might rally around and say, I didn't feel as though it had, if that was the purpose, I don't think it showed itself. I think it was one of those, really?
No, it started a full 5 or 6 year Cold War with Dave Winfield. I mean, with him and George.
Oh, yeah, and about the Winfield Foundation and his contribution and how he's there, and just there was something going on every day. As in a strange way, that old Winfield thing, though, really kind of led to a resurgence for the Yankees in the 90s, because when George got suspended, that's when Gene Michael and Buck Showalter really rebuilt that organization, and that was the team that really became a dynasty after, even though George was back. I mean, he wasn't there to interfere that long. Get in the way. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I guess now you can make contributions like that, presidential contributions like that, without breaking any laws. But I think back then,
we overlook a lot of things today that we have overlooked years ago.
Stick Michael was just tremendous. He was just what a baseball genius. Yeah.
Hey, Stick had so many jobs. So what was he what was his job when
he was there? The third base coach when
third base coach
was there in 1985. Yeah, he had you remember the play where Bobby Meacham and Dale Bear were thrown out?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
On the same play. The other Stick at third base. Oh, geez. I tell you what, though, I see, and Ricky Henderson was at the plate, and I can understand exactly everybody's what they were thinking as that play was evolving, and it's just one of those things. But it probably happened to, if you said, okay, this play is going to happen, give me the two guys you think it's going to happen to. It's probably been Dale and Bobby.
Listen, about Ricky, I have to ask this because I don't know that I've ever asked anybody that played with him. Did he actually refer to himself in a third person all the time?
I think a lot of us were just waiting with bated breath for his Hall of Fame speech, because you're used to Ricky referring to himself as in the third person. And he was great. He I think Howard Bryant told me that he took some courses or something and he was really for people like me that are just waiting to hear and how that was going to go. His Hall of Fame acceptance speech, but he was tremendous.
The Padres story with Ricky Henderson. He played on a lot of teams, obviously, later in his career. He'd been around 20, 22 years, whatever, and he was playing with the Padres. First year with the Padres, you know the story?
Yeah.
When 10 years sitting on the bus, he goes, when they said only 10-year players sit there, Ricky, and he goes, 10 years? Ricky's got 20 years. Oh, it's one of my favorite baseball.
I never realized how built he was until I was teammates with him. He was really cut. I really, Rick. There was one time when he was still with Oakland, and the Rangers are playing, and we've got a big lead, 9th inning, 2 out. Ricky's on second. His run means nothing, and he takes off at third. And I thought, please, if he never gets thrown out again, please let him get thrown out. Of course, he doesn't get thrown out. And I brought that up to him when we were teammates. That why would you steal in that situation or something like that? One, I guess, because he can.
Right.
And I think that was the year that he went for the record. I guess he got the record, whatever year that was. He got So I guess anybody else, that would have been just a bad play because they got thrown. Sunberger would have thrown him out.
You played you go to Braves after this, and again, not a great team. I mean, that Yankee team in 80, what was that, 85, I guess, was probably the best team you played on. You go to the Braves.
97, yeah.
Yeah, Braves had kind of gone the other way after having a few good seasons under Joe Torre. Chuck Tanner's a manager there. You played under some managers that had a lot of success. Chuck Tanner, maybe not the places they were with you. That's the thing, though, right? Chuck Tanner, Billy, Yogi, Don Zimmer's had some success. Some people argue about a lot of people whose teams he managed were really that enamored with Don. But who was the best guy you played for, you think?
Well, let me start back. Chuck Tanner, the hardest handshake in the game.
Yeah,
and a game full of hard handshakes. And Chuck was giving bro hugs before bro hugs were fashionable. So you go, oh, you're doing that, and he grabs you, and you at that moment oh, I'm in trouble. I didn't get my hand in there far enough, or it was going to hurt anyway. And he brings you in, and and you're just, oh, please. This is 6 seconds of pain I don't really want to deal with anymore. Oh, Chuck, I'm fine. You release yourself. Don was Zimmer. He was funny. He was crazier than the players. He's just one time. Excuse me. There was oh geez, Eddie Childs, good man, good one of the owners, heart in the right place. He was going to bring some of his work ethic from his oil company to the Rangers. Mike Stone was the vice president at the time. So you would, as it played out, you had to tell him as a hitter how many hits you think you're going to get in your next 30 at-bats. So and by the time, if you're talking to somebody like Al Oliver,
how many hits are in your pipeline? How many hits are in your pipeline? I find I'm in sales, and I go, how many hits are in your pipeline?
Yeah. Really? Scoop would say, well, with any luck, 10 or 11. Just the most confident hitter and a great hitter that you've ever seen. And by the time he got to me, it was like, oh, I got another guy I got to go through here. So he's looking at this. Okay, well, how many hits you think you're going to get in the next 30 at bats? And he was kind of explaining the concept to me. And I thought for a second, and I reached for a schedule. I had to see who we were playing. Oh dear. If you got some teams I hit well, okay, I might go up to 10, 11. Yeah, we got to face Detroit and Toronto. Maybe not. But he was all right. He was fun. He was in a time where they called me in when they made the Mazzilli trade, and I walk into the clubhouse, and one of the attendants said that Zim wants to see you, and I went, no, because I know what's happening now. But I appreciated him telling me that they were going to. That Mazzilli was going to play left, and I gave my trade request again for the 20th time, and but I appreciate it. It wasn't always what I wanted to hear, but I appreciated the way that he was up front and the way he treated people. At least he treated me extremely well. But he was a little different. One time we were going from Arlington night game, off day, Toronto night game. And usually you leave later in the afternoon so you can spend more time at home and spend more time with your family. Well, they've got us leaving like at 9 o'clock in the morning or something after a night game. And Dan Shimmick, our traveling secretary, I was a player rep. And I would just let it go because we came up about the same time, and I figured he knew what we were doing and knew what was right and what wasn't right. And I was all on him. What are you doing? And he just sort of took it. And so and I don't want to go to Toronto anyway because I was about 0 for 50 against their staff too. And so later I found out that after I browbeated Chimmick to tell me why we're leaving that early, he said we had a lot of guys who were horse track guys, and Zim is probably everybody knows was one of them.
Yeah.
And so he wanted to get to Toronto early enough so he can get all the 12, 13 races. I said, "Well, you son of a gun." So I told Don later on about it, and he said, "Well, the manager has to have his fun too." Oh, he was. I enjoyed him. I just a baseball lifer, and he was with personality, with a personality. And
what when your playing career was winding down, when did you how did you end up heading towards? I believe right after you played your first gig, if you will, was broadcasting. After that, how did that all come about? And I know it's getting a little late. I hope you can stay with us a little bit over.
Sure.
Yeah.
I needed a job. I never figured out what to do with a BS in psychology, and I had.
That's an oxymoron.
Articles during my playing day. What's that, Keith?
It just struck me. It's probably only funny in my head. BS in psychology sounds like an oxymoron a little bit, or actually, maybe it's not. Maybe it is accurate. Maybe I don't know.
And BS, my initials, BS in psychology. Yeah. So I'd written a little bit. I had a minute-long show in 1981 where I could write and talk about anything I wanted to, but it had to be within about a minute to minute 15. And I enjoyed that. So I had dabbled a little bit in the media. So it wasn't all that unusual that the time that I was hurt, or I broke my wrist, was the only time I was on the DL. But and I went up to the broadcast booth, so I had some precursor to getting into broadcasting. But I didn't really have a job. And then the Nightline interview with Al Campanis, and where he talked about the necessities or lack of necessities.
Yeah.
And then people were looking. Oh no, I mean, any African American. I don't know. And so I that sort of helped me. And then I held court long enough so they got really talented people to come after me. But I enjoyed it. It was fun. But I really needed a job. I didn't know what else I could do. And many years later, I still don't know what I want to do, but I went from there to retirement, and I'm good.
You're good. Did you enjoy, I mean, you had a lot of gigs with broadcasting, and you did some radio shows, you did some writing for SI and New York Times. What in post-career, what was the thing you enjoyed doing the most?
Writing.
Yeah.
Much more so than anything else. I don't know if I wanted to be a beat reporter. Maybe a columnist or something like that. And I was there for the first 2 years of Baseball Weekly out of USA Today. And I thought I could lend some credibility to what they were trying to do. And they paid well. So that was good. I sort of bounced one place to the next. And we are. I want to make sure 2018 edition, not the 2016. Get the 2018. That is updated, and I spell Orson Welles' name correctly. And
you didn't misspell Wells, did you? You misspelled Orson.
Yes, I did. I didn't put 2 E's in there. Yeah.
I don't remember. It's funny. I've read the book. I don't remember Orson Welles.
I referenced the way Roy White speaks.
Yes.
Orson Welles,
I'm a big Orson Welles fan. I was before my time. I think Citizen Kane is like the best movie ever made. I love Citizen Kane.
Yeah.
So. But check out the book, Bill. He's got A Year in Pinstripes and then some, and get the 2018 edition, as he mentioned. You can get it on Amazon.
Kindle.
I got the Kindle edition. My wife won't let me buy books anymore. I threw so many books away over the last 5 years. Not threw away. Sorry, took them to libraries and such. Never throw a book away. That's a crime in my mind. So check that out, guys. You can get it on Amazon. Bill, you've also got what's the work that you've got? I know that you worked on some TV or movie projects. Is there still something in the works there?
Yeah, well, I had my movie out in 2012. It was a lot of fun shooting it. It's called Reunion 108. It's harsh. It's a clubhouse. It's a strong R. So I tell people about it, and I warn you at the same time. And I'm in the movie way too much, but I figured I was the one that was going to go broke making it, so I might as well get in it.
I've made a note. I have to look for this movie. I did not know about this movie until I was doing some research.
If you go to its IMDb page, internetmoviedatabase.com, and put in Reunion 108, you can get it from there. I think it's
I do want to check it out
or something like that. And now we're working on a movie. Jay McCadden is one of the coordinating producers, and one of the people that was slated to be in the movie has since died, and it's so we got to hurry up and get this going. John Amos, you remember John Amos?
Yeah, absolutely, great actor.
Yeah, he was slated to be in this movie, and so we'll probably get it off the ground. I'm guessing we can't wait too much longer because some of our younger actors are going to age out if we don't hurry up and get this done.
Who's playing you? Is it Michael B. Jordan or somebody like that? Or?
That's right. Yeah. No, it's set in the late 1930s. The working title is, oh dear, I'm drawing a blank here. The Iron Horse. Something about the Iron Horse, and the Iron Horse being Lou Gehrig. African American kid, probably early teens, in a segregated southern town, befriended by a white kid who they meet through baseball, and it's got some twists and turns to it, and it's got some history behind it, and you probably can figure out how it's going to come, how it might end, but there's a lot going on before you get to the end. Yeah.
So this is a true story, historical fiction, or kind of would you call it? Or?
There's some. The part about Lou Gehrig in his year where he's sick, and stopped at a train station in, I think it's Richmond, Virginia, somewhere in Virginia. The screenwriter, who's from who went to high school in Salem, Virginia, is a white man who writes sort of on the point of view of this African American kid, and it's really interesting that this man has gone through some stuff. In fact, he was bullied in school because his name was the same as James Meredith, the civil rights worker in Mississippi. And so he's got a hard feel about the emotion he put into his script. And so that's kind of the generous. They're throwing a whole lot of people, and maybe they can have somebody big attached to it. And
cool.
So we'll see how it goes. It's not a big, but it's probably going to be $4 to $5 million movie. You either make it for less than that or a blockbuster. Seems like those $10 to $20 million movies are no longer there, or no longer made.
I got a couple. Let me get to a couple
For
comments.
The Love of the Iron Horse. Thank you.
Oh, Sorry. Love of the Iron Horse. Okay. We'll make a note of that. We'll be looking for it.
Yes.
In your local theaters or Netflix or wherever, because you never know where we're going.
Probably
even
Netflix.
even big movies get released on Netflix and Prime without ever hitting the theaters today. So
yeah, I think you have to hit the theaters in order to qualify for an award.
Yeah. We wish you luck there. Rick always asks this question. He wants to know who is the craziest teammate you ever played with. We already talked about a couple, probably.
Rick,
but
I'm not real good with absolutes. Sometimes I think about a handful of everybody's funny. I mean, just if you ask me who's comedian funny, like a comedian that's stand-up mic kind of comedian. I'd probably say Bobby Jones. But there's so many Mickey Rivers and Oscar Gamble. I couldn't wait for the clubhouse. Ken Griffey Sr. Just Sparky Lau. I guess you could probably throw in Jim Kern. They're just everybody's funny. Maybe the degrees of it, but it's a crazy sport. You can have some of the sanest people, if I can use that phrase, and baseball will make them crazy. We had one teammate that was straight, and jumped into the Chicago River. just he saw one slider too many. It could make you crazy.
As I looked at the list of guys,
should be doing well, but
Yeah. As I looked at some of the list of some of the guys you played with, I had two guys that I thought you might mention. You might mention Ricky, and I thought you might mention Kirk Bavacqua too. I don't know that you played a long time with Kirk Bavacqua, but
just a month. Just my first month was this last month in Texas before being traded to San Diego.
I've heard some funny stories about him too as well. Can't get him to respond to me. I want him to come on the show, but I haven't been able to get him to respond to me. So,
Dirty Kirk.
David wants to know, what was it like playing for George? Did you have a lot of interaction with George, or any interaction with George?
I was traded from the Rangers to the Yankees in spring training, and at that time, the Yankees trained in Fort Lauderdale, and the Rangers trained in Pompano Beach, and they're adjacent cities. So I just went over, and I had my little quasi press conference, and evidently I must have sounded good, or one of the reporters must have told George I sounded good. So George came over and welcomed me to the team, which I thought was really nice, because I wasn't a big name, and so I said, "Oh, thanks, George." I thought that was cool, but that was probably it. He wasn't around the club that much that year, but when he was around, you could feel it. You knew you could feel the tension. It just, I said earlier, you could just cut it with a knife. You could feel.
He's flying in, and the hair starts standing up on the back of your neck when he's flying into town. He just said,
"Sorry, I didn't hear that right. What is it?"
I'm sorry. He's the kind of guy where he just gets into town and you don't see him, but you feel the hair in the back of your neck.
Oh, yeah. Everybody sort of straightens up, and it was interesting.
Michael in the UK, we were talking about the force plate, explaining he just figured it out now, I think, recently about the force plate. He's kind of comparing it to the Lions, what the Lions did last night against the Packers, which I think he's got another comment about. We'll talk about there. He also loved the famous baseball one with Jackie Robinson. I think he's talking about the steal of home base, actually, I think is what he's talking about.
Yogi said he's still out.
Yeah, it wasn't a suicide squeeze. It was the straight steal of home, Michael. Yeah, he wasn't even a suicide squeeze. Now, relating it to the football game last night, I would call and I don't know if you saw the end of the game last night, Billy, at all, but I would call what Dan Campbell did at the end of the game a suicide squeeze attempt, because he went for it on fourth down. He could have kicked a field goal, but he wanted to run all the clock off, so he went for it on 4th and inches, which I like. I like that kind of aggressiveness. So I call that.
Gained some yards, so it made the field goal even shorter than.
And ran all the time. Yeah, and they ran all the time off the clock too. So I thought it was a great move, and kind of like a suicide squeeze with 2 outs and tie game. So
Well, as an opponent, he's going to do that. So it's not like a surprise.
Yeah, Billy, what did you find more difficult against the pitcher, his velocity or trying to read his sequence of pitches? So I guess fastballs against off-speed stuff.
Oh, if you had a fastball, I had to swing for it.
Yeah.
If you put a wrinkle in it, I was susceptible. It's just. I remember when I saw my first slider. I think it was a good slider in collegiate summer league. And I had my bat all up in the air like I was Cesar Cedeno or something like that. And then I realized that I couldn't start and stop my bat on the slider because he went fastball. Oh, slider. Oh, and you're trying to hold your swing. So I had to bring my stuff. I had to bring it down a little bit here because I just wasn't strong enough to keep it up there and bring it down. But I would say, well, there's so many sliders. Split fingers will make you more aggressive early in the count because you don't really want to be behind the count 1-2 and the pitcher hadn't thrown his splitter yet. It just sort of bottoms out. And a lot of times I was fortunate though because I was a good high fastball hitter, so I could wait a little bit longer because a lot of times the pitchers who have the split will get fastball strikes here and strikeouts here because as a hitter, you're kind of waiting. You want to wait and not swing over top the splitter. So they'll just keep a fat rowdy on a fastball up here high in the zone. But I was fortunate enough that I could handle it well, so I could wait a little bit longer to see the if it was going to be a splitter.
Cool.
It's tough. Yeah. It's hitting.
Yeah, baseball's baseball. John Sterling, who's been here in New York, he just retired. You probably know the name John Sterling, I'm sure.
I worked with John.
That's right. John was with the Braves probably when you were there. That's right. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. But he always says almost every night you see something you never saw before in baseball.
Oh,
right?
Yes. Oh, I wholeheartedly agree. You can watch a game night after night after night and see something different. And, wow, this is what a special game.
Do you like the game today compared to what your time? I have some issues with some of the rule changes and whatnot myself.
They got one coming. What was this?
Oh, geez, the golden bat rule is never going to happen, and I hope it doesn't. It's like, geez, come on, man. It's like beer league.
Years ago, they were trying to implement a different strike zone relative to the score of the game.
Oh, yeah, that's another brilliant. Rob Manfred. Billy, can I get you to be commissioner of baseball? Was that before Rob? It sounds like a Rob Manfred idea. The golden rule is the one where now you could put any hitter up in any situation. It could be in the lineup anywhere. You could take Ohtani, let's say. The bases are loaded in ninth inning. You're down by 2 runs. You could put Ohtani back up to hit. He could have just struck out. He could be up 3 hitters later, but you could put him up in the spot that you want him. And I'm like, this isn't beer league softball, man. You can't just diametrically change the way the game is played.
I don't know.
We've already done some
of the things, and I'm an old timer, and some of the things that I think I would probably never agree with, but I have to give it to him though. A lot of the things I was a little lukewarm on, they made it work. I'm okay. This one, I don't know. Is this a trial balloon, or are they serious, or?
Well, he says,
can you implement it? I forgot how it is because when I was with the union, I didn't think they could implement it.
They can't. I think they have to get the Players Association on board, and there's things you have to go through. He can't just say we're going to do
1 year. I think you can do it 1 year though. Nowadays, you can check me on that. But back in my day, yeah, you had to have the association. But for
I don't know. I haven't heard it. He says he's got buzz that this is a good idea to try, and I don't hear any positive buzz about this idea at all myself. I mean, I don't even like – everybody's excited, and I'll get your opinion on this because you said you like some of the things, and I like the games are faster. I mean, I don't want to watch there's no reason games should take 4 hours to play, right? But like stolen bases, everybody's excited about stolen bases being up. You were a guy who could steal a base in your day. But to me, it's artificially inflated because you made the bases bigger, which nobody ever talks about it. But now the distance between bases is shorter, and a couple inches is a lot in baseball, doesn't it? right? And the pitcher can only throw over twice, and even the pitch clock impacts the stolen base attempt. So to me, I'm glad to see stolen bases being used more again, but you've artificially inflated that stat in my mind. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that as a guy who could steal a base without all that help.
Right. I mean, the bases are bigger.
Right.
Advantage me.
Nobody ever talks about the fact, we made the bases bigger to make it safer. That's why they said they made the bases bigger, right? You got a bigger place to go to. But nobody ever talks about the fact that you shortened the baselines by doing it. Nobody ever mentions that. And when they do, they go, well, what's an inch? Well, how many bang plays you see in baseball in a game? A lot.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So,
I guess,
so I'm like you. I'll sit there and wonder if anybody else is watching this. But good that you have a vehicle in which you can express yourself.
Oh, I do, and I get myself in trouble sometimes. But I'm like an old guy yelling at the kids to get off my lawn. It's just bad sometimes. Chris is with Chris Fgrave up in Canada, another country heard from. If we go back 300 years, this is a good question. Chris has always got a good question. If we go back 300 years when you were 20, it's a little. He's not that old, Chris. When if you just go back to when you're 21 again, how was your introduction to Joe Klein and his style of coaching?
We were co-ops with in Sarasota with the Kansas City Royals, and we would practice about the same time. And the Royals under Jose Martinez, I think Jose's passed on now, but he ran them. I just like, oh my goodness! I don't know how good they were going to be, but they're going to be in shape. And so one time we were gathered around and Joe looks at them and they're sort of running around all the complexes in sort of a military cadence. And Joe said, well, I don't believe baseball's a track meet, but we'll see. And I knew exactly what he meant with we'll see. We played them 9 times, beat them 7. Excuse me. And won and had the best record in the league because I wasn't going to do all that running. I had done enough running. I had baseball coaches in high school who were wrestling and basketball coaches, and we were always in great shape. But we ran and ran and they ran. I don't even know because we would have our games. Now you're getting graded in the games at 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock or whatever. So you start your practices at 9. And somehow you get a small lunch and you've got to muster up enough energy to play the game where it really counts because it's going to be on your ledger. And that was tough enough. But the running they did, oh, no.
Yeah.
That was just Ken Phelps is probably the biggest name that came out of that group.
Ken Phelps, yeah. Yankees traded Jay Buhner for Ken Phelps. Nice.
Yeah.
Great move there.
He was probably the biggest name that came out of that group. But and they were college. Most of them were out of college too. They were. It was a good team, but as Joe said, we'll see. Yeah, I said we beat them 7 out of 9. We weren't doing that kind of running.
I'm gonna ask a question Chris normally asks, so I'll ask it as it's usually what we try to wrap up with. What's Billy Sample? What music is Billy Sample listening to? What's he reading? And what keeps you excited today?
I listen to almost any music. I like all music. Probably not as much country, but my father was a Nashville country person, and you get to interact with Roy Clark and Charlie Pride, and you run across some people like that, so it's really cool. I don't read as much as I'd like to. I'd like to learn more languages. If I could do anything, I wish I could pick up languages better. And I was in where was I? somewhere where you speak Spanish. What little Spanish I could speak, I thought, oh, okay, well, I can get by with this. I should know it a lot better, but I want to learn a lot more languages. I guess I still have books, but I never get to it. It seems if I get to maybe one chapter a week, I'm lucky. I stay busy and couldn't tell you what I do.
It does. My wife is retired and she's like on the go all the time. And I say she's the busiest retired person I've ever known. And she doesn't really know what keeps her busy. It's a grandchild. It's her mom. It's this, that's everything, so.
What is she retired from, may I ask?
She worked she was an attorney for the New York State Department of, they oversaw the power companies, the cable companies, all the companies. It's not coming to me for some reason. I don't know, but she was an attorney there for quite a number of years. And so she keeps herself busy. I'll go up from work and she's gone all the time. She's gone somewhere. So, and about the languages thing, I appreciate that because I'm still working on the English language. So I'm 65 and I haven't mastered that yet. So I'm still trying. Listen, I want to thank you for coming on today, and Chris, I was saving this. Rick appreciates it too. Billy, you had a really good career. Again, I know you're a very humble guy. Rookie league team. Very, there's nothing small about that in my mind. Or not rookie league team. Sorry, rookie.
The top's all rookie team.
Yeah, thank you. The all-rookie team. Hall of Famer at your college at James Madison. You just had the American Legion field not just, but a few years back had the American Legion field you played on named for you. These are all great things. And by the way,
it was the same field that it wasn't the American Legion field, but it was the field that when I grew up, Salem had a Pirates A team.
Yeah.
And so it was the field that I'd play American Legion ball or a high school football or a high school baseball on that field. Yeah. And it was the same one where I would go and watch a game and you try to measure up to see how well you think you can do. And then years later, I'm a teammate with Mario Mendoza, who I watched play when I was growing up. So it was kind of cool.
By the way, that made me laugh a little bit. And then Mario Mendoza played quite a while in the major leagues, but we all know about the Mendoza line. And,
he doesn't like that. And ironically, he was an Angels minor league hitting instructor. The year that I remember he was with us, he batted .241. I didn't realize he was that bad of a hitter. Back in my day, outside of Cal Ripken, nobody hit at shortstop. Certainly didn't hit with power. Now shortstops, you better be putting up about 20, 25 home runs.
Right. It's always been a thing. Billy, I do appreciate you coming on and going a little longer than we expected. This was awesome. I appreciate it. Guys, I appreciate all you commenting and staying with us, and all you guys that'll watch us later once we share it to the groups. I appreciate it. We'll see you. Maybe we'll see you later on with the MLB update. I might have a commitment. A work commitment. We might have to skip the MLB update today, but listen, it's the off season, so we'll always catch up. And we'll see you Sunday with the Stream of Consciousness. And next week, my guest will be Wesley Walker, or a great wide receiver with the New York Jets. And I know Billy knows Wesley. And we look forward to
University of Wisconsin.
Cal, he went to actually.
Cal?
Yeah, Cal.
Wisconsin. Huh.
Yeah, there's probably another Wesley Walker.
Wait till the last minute to commit my biggest faux pas. All right.
That's okay. You're good. Guys, we'll catch you later. Keith Engle for one-on-one with Keith Engle. I think my guest Billy Sample. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.